So just a little over a week ago, Christopher Ward released their new C1 Moonphase, and they sent me one to check out and to show you guys on the channel. Now, moonphase complications have been around since the 16th century, but in the modern age, unless you're a werewolf, then having a moonphase indicator that tracks the lunar cycle is probably the most pointless complication on a watch. And yet, even 500 years later, there's just something about a moonphase complication that's just so cool. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name's Simon and I mostly talk about watches. And if you like watches too, then hit that subscribe button and go back and check out some of my other videos. Now, this isn't the first watch with a moonphase complication that Christopher Ward has produced. In fact, it's appeared on several other models, going as far back as 2015. In 2019, they launched the C1 Moonglow, and this new C1 Moonphase shares many similarities with that one. Not only in the way the moon is represented on the dial, but also the JJ04 Moonphase module that's used inside both models, and it accurately tracks the phases of the moon for 128 years, if kept fully wound. Unlike the C1 Moonglow, this new C1 Moonphase also uses a 40.5mm case, which is mostly brushed, other than for a polished ring that runs around the side of the bezel. But of course, what makes a C1 Moonphase so special is this dial. I mean, wow, just look at it. It's made from two pieces of aventurine glass, which are not to be confused with the crystal of the same name. Aventurine glass was discovered in the 18th century by accident. The story goes that a glassblower in a factory in Murano, a small island just off Venice that's famous for its glass, accidentally spilled some copper filings into the molten glass. The result was this incredible sparkling glass, and the name aventurine actually derives from avventura, which is the Italian for by accident. On this dial, the effect is of a night sky filled with twinkling stars, and it really is breathtaking. On the moonphase indicator, the moon, or rather moons as there are two on a rotating disc, are 25% larger than on the C1 Moonglow. They're made from globalite, which is a mix of ceramic and superluminova, and when fully charged they glow with a white hue that really resembles the moon. There's a sword-shaped handset, and the hands are polished, with a bevel so when the light catches them they really glint. The hands are slender and long, and I love that the minute and seconds hands almost touch the edge of the dial. One thing that's notable by its absence on the dial is any branding. In fact, the only text on the dial are the words Swiss made, which are printed at the very edge of the dial at the 6 o'clock position. You'd only know that this is a Christopher Ward when you look at the crown, which is signed with their Twin Flags logo. Or if you flip the watch over, you will find the name printed on the back of the custom black rotor. It's attached to a Sellita SW200 movement, which is what powers this watch, and it's visible through the exhibition case bag. This C1 Moonphase is available on this stainless steel consort bracelet for £2,120. It's a new design that features a mixture of brushed and polished links, and a butterfly clasp which is also signed. Or you can also get it on a leather strap for just under £2,000. While this bracelet is really comfortable, and the small links mean that it really conforms to the wrist, this is a dress watch, and for me dress watches always look better on leather, so a leather strap would be my choice. I like the fact that the dial is unbranded. I think the absence of any Christopher Ward branding on the dial is really telling, and it makes a bold statement. It shows that they finally have a sense of confidence in their brand that has sadly been lacking. Remember, this is a company that has changed its logo several times in what feels like just 5 or 6 years. And I think this latest release is part of a deliberate strategy that Christopher Ward embarked on in 2021 to elevate the brand and to position it as a serious watchmaker that can compete toe-to-toe with some of the big Swiss brands. They're playing a long game, but it seems to me that the plan is to release one horologically important flagship piece every year. It began in 2021 with the C60 concept. This was an incredible skeletonized concept watch with a 5-day power reserve, of which just 210 pieces were made. They worked with Armstrong for the skeletonization of the movement, and Chronode, a supplier to independent horology brands like Chapek and MB&F, to hand-finish each watch to extremely high standards. Then in late 2022 we got the Bel Canto, an equally impressive piece with a grade 5 titanium case, and a specially developed chiming module, part of which is mounted to the dial. It's an absolute work of art, and while it took a while for me to appreciate just how good it is, I'm glad that they chose not to make this a limited edition, as I'm now seriously considering adding one to my collection. Both of these were high horology pieces, but priced at a fraction of what they would be from any of the independent Swiss brands. The message was clear: Christopher Ward makes serious watches, and offers insane value. This C1 Moonphase appears to be the third act, but while the C60 concept and the Bel Canto were nothing short of masterpieces, for me, I think this one might be a little wide of the mark. I can see what they've tried to do. Moonphase watches with aventurine dials are typically 10 times the price of this. For example, there's the Arnold & Son Perpetual Moon, which had a retail price of about $33,000. But as impressive as this dial is, pairing it with this case, which is 40.5mm wide, but also 13.3mm thick, makes it feel like a hybrid between a dress watch and a sports watch. I know I have small wrists, but it wears larger than its dimensions suggest it should. And I don't want this much wrist presence from a dress watch. I want a case that's smaller, slimmer, and feels more refined, that will easily slip under a shirt cuff. It almost makes me wonder whether Christopher Ward have deliberately set out to make a dress watch that wears like a sports watch, which is an interesting idea in theory, but I'm not sure that it works in practice. My wife also made an interesting point when I showed her this watch. She loved the aventurine dial, and while the Moonphase complication might not be that useful for us men, she actually has an app on her phone which uses the phases of the moon as a visual reference to track the menstrual cycle. Her view was that with a smaller and more refined case, this watch would not only be more visually appealing to the fairer sex, but would also be genuinely useful too. So, Mike France, if you're listening, this is perhaps something to consider for the future. But guys, I want to know what you think. Drop me a comment below and tell me what you think about this watch. Tell me if you own a Moonphase watch, or indeed if you'd buy one. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.